Hi, this is Ken again, and today we're going to talk about another track off of the new Division album, 13. And this is the second track off of the album. It's called Essence, and basically, it was actually the second song that we've worked on during the production as well. And the way it started is the early version had basically an idea for the um, verse, and it had the beginning melody as well. And we had to basically, we added the chorus and the chord progression and all that stuff. But anyway, so let me play the song for a little bit, and then we'll go and we'll talk about some of the things that we've done here that could be cool, or that you may think are cool. All right, here we go.
Darkness is falling where hope cannot take hold. In this solitude, all your dreams are dead and cold. Time to wait.
Okay, so let's start with the bass line. So the bass line is a whole bunch of layered sounds, and it's in Logic they call this track stack right here. Let me unfold this. And so you have the bass line here. This is one sound. Here's another track. Here's another track, and so on. So let me just solo the bass line. Let me play it back. So pretty straightforward. And here, this track, we added some vowels, like a vowel effect, to make it sound a little bit more interesting. Okay, so let's solo these individual tracks. So basically this right here is sounds like this. And this is really straightforward. It's simply the notes are actually held. Excuse me. And we put the Logic ARP on there. So if I turn this off, play back, as you can see, it's just holding it. If I turn this back on, oops, turn it back on, sounds like this. Okay, and then the other thing that we did is this plugin I use quite a bit on the album too, and it's called One Knob Pumper, and it's from Waves. And basically it simulates a side chaining effect. So when you have a kick drum and you use the kick drum as the trigger to trigger the compressor, and a lot of dance music obviously is using that. I use it in this case, I use it simply because I try to push the bass line out of the way when the kick drum hits, so that way the low frequencies don't fight with each other, and it makes it much easier to actually mix the track. So it's really simple to use. Here's the rate. You can set the rate that it actually pumps, and you can even offset it. And then with this big knob, you basically determine depth of how much it actually pumps, how much it sounds like, compression, or how much it actually, not really compression, but how much it ducks the sound out of the way. And then what else? So just a bit crusher on there to make it sound a little bit more grainy. Then down here, this sound, or this track, is the same sound as this, and Logic has this feature called Bounce in Place, and basically you can bounce any MIDI track to an audio track. And I did this here because I wanted to have more control over the actual sound. So in audio, when it's audio, it's permanent. And then I put the looperator on there, and basically that has like a vowel filter on it and so on, and it manipulates this in real time. So let me play this back. And again, here's I mentioned this in the first video here. This is the Plugin Alliance Twin Tube processor, and it's a saturation plugin. It's based on the hardware version of the SPL Twin Tube, and the thing sounds incredible. I use it all the time. This, along with compression and EQ, is probably the most plug-in on the album. It's on a lot of tracks. So then down here, let me zoom in on this. So you can see it's basically the same track. It's the wave bass, but it's also bounced to audio. And then just certain parts are unmuted, and there's a different Sugar Bytes looperator effect on there, like a little bit tweaked and stuff to make it sound more interesting. So let me play this back. Actually, I can play it back from here. So. Okay, so that adds quite a bit of texture. So if I play it together, like the entire bass line. So it adds something to it. Then also down here, this bass, this track is basically just an offbeat bass. And this is the Ace plugin by Yuhei, and I actually use this preset. This is it may actually even be the first preset in Ace, but I absolutely love this preset. I tweak it from time to time, but I use it in a lot of different songs just as a layer. It just sits really well in the mix most of the time, and it just sounds really good. And so anyway, so I layered this right here, so that's what it sounds like. And then even in the chorus, oops, let me turn this. So that's basically the bass line. Pretty straightforward. Okay, what else? The other thing too is the kick. We're using Nicky Romero's kick, and it's a kick plugin from Sonic Academy, and it's really, really powerful. You can basically create your own kick, and what we do is we actually tune the kick to the key of the song, so the kick just sits better in the mix, and it just sounds better that way. We do that a lot. Then here we are using Largo, which I had mentioned in the first video, that Largo from Waldorf is one of my favorite plugins. synth plugins, and that's that sort of distorted steam pipe sound, if you will, and it's in the song, or throughout the song, comes in quite a bit. Here, solo it. So it's pretty easy part. So this is how it's played. Okay, so that's that. Then down here, these three parts. So these are basically from Stan's modular synth. So the way we did this a lot is we started working on some songs together, on these tracks together, and I bounced the stereo file, uploaded it for Stan to create some sounds at home with his modular synth and to record them, and he came up with some really cool, incredible sounds. Let me play those back. So this clank sound, I love this one. It comes in with the song when the song starts. I really like this one. So just add something when the entire song starts. So it just I love the sounds that he created. Then going through some other stuff. Here we did some percussions, and it sounds like this. It's really straightforward, actually. Come on, sorry. But what's cool about this is, so you see here's a second EQ, and that one is bypassed at this time. But when the vocals come in, we turn it on, and we're turning down, we're cutting the high end, so that way they're not, this hi-hat is not so piercing sounding, and it doesn't interfere with the vocals. So when you can hear it again right here. Okay, so, and like I mentioned in the first video too, we're using a lot of automation throughout the entire record. It just adds to the overall sound and texture, and that way sounds don't sound too static. That's why automation is really important. Here, this is just some normal chords, saw pad. Come on. So fairly simple. Okay, so that's that part. What else? Then here the verse or the chorus drums. We did this half beat in the chorus, and we wanted it to sound like Marcus, who plays live with Division, and I always like, personally, I always like it when I see Division live, and I always feel that he adds a lot to the live shows, and and I kind of thought of him when this part came up, like a half beat and real drum sounds and so on. So that's this here. And as you can hear, it sounds almost distorted, and this is the part right here. So can just the drum, the kick and the snare. Okay, so and what we did there is we're using an API 2500 from Waves as well, compressor on there. It's pretty aggressive sounding. And then we also put like a bit crusher on this track stack. And that just made it sound, kind of distorted. And then with the original, the Nicky Romero kick, it just like that adds to the low end, to the bottom. So okay, so the whole chorus sounds like this then. So that's basically the drums, and then there's really not a lot in the chorus actually, and we did this on purpose in regards to drums, simply because the acoustic drums take up so much space that we didn't feel like we needed to add a lot more to it. Then here's that fuzz crunch sound, and that's the part right here. So let me solo this. And like I had mentioned before, we're using a lot of automation and stuff just to make it sound more interesting. Here's another modular sound that goes with the saw pad. Just adds to it as well. And let's talk a little bit about the vocals for now. So one of the things that we've done here on the vocals was, let me open this, and we put this UAD plugin. It's called a Cooper Time Cube. Cooper Time Cube. It's late. Anyway, so the original, basically this was a delay that was created by using a garden hose, and it kind of gave you that lo-fi delay sound, and I think the original only gave you like 30 milliseconds or something, so they definitely changed that here. And what's nice about it is it adds quite some texture, but it doesn't try to it doesn't take away too much space, so it just sits really nicely in the mix. So if I do this here,
Darkness is falling where hope cannot take hold.
I can turn this off here so you can hear a difference.
Darkness is falling where hope can. Darkness is falling.
So it really adds something to it. It makes it sound really cool. We've used this effect a few times on the album. Not too much, but we really like this effect. Also, we actually, in the verse, we cut the low end, so we high pass filtered it quite a bit to make the verse sound a little bit thinner from the vocals, and then the chorus, it just makes it sound much bigger that way. Then on the chorus, what we did here is we added just a reverb, but we actually modulated that reverb with like an audio damage plugin. And so let me solo this right here.
It burns so bright, it blinds the eye. You're losing your.
So you can hear how the reverb, which by the way we're using the Softube SAR, which we like a lot, but we're modulating the reverb tail, so it kind of adds some extra texture to it as well. And then the backing vocals, actually, don't know, some of you may have heard of Garrett Miles. We released a single last year on Steffen's label, and he actually, we asked him to sing some background vocals for this song, and he did that. So this is what he sounds like and with Steffen.
It burns so bright, it blinds the eye.
Okay, so that's basically that.
It burns so bright, it blinds the eye.
That's pretty much it. Then the main melody, and that is a whole bunch of parts. So this is actually a folder right here, and then here this is a track stack, and you can see like all of these parts right here. All of these parts are basically for the main melody. So quite a few parts. If I solo some of these. And then we add piano to it. Then this here is the track stack, so just by itself. Okay, and then we actually put a Meta filter on there from Waves, which is basically you know, we're using a step sequencer to manipulate the cutoff, and then by itself again. And my CPU is freaking out again, so sorry, because it's a little bit, I had the same problem in my first video. Too much to handle for this computer, taking video and playing this big session back, so. Okay, so that's basically that. What else? Then here, this part, we actually, one thing that I like about this part is, so let me solo. This is a pretty simple melody. But, so it's a pretty simple melody, but it has this sort of sucking effect on there, and that's really done with the Effectrix plugin by Sugar Bytes, and it's really the reverse right here that creates that, and then I put like a phaser on there to make it stand out a little bit. So if I turn this off for now. So pretty straightforward. Okay, so that's pretty much it, and then we put and Largo again, and then we put Driver on there, which is like a distortion plugin from Native Instruments. So that's that, and we did the same thing on this sound actually. Same thing, you know, it's like whenever it's playing back, as you can see, it's stepping through. And this, again, like we created this reverse on there with the phaser and stuff to kind of like make it jump out a little bit to make it more interesting sounding. So that's that. What else? Here we have this main melody comes in. This one that's in the very beginning. But Stan created another gnarly sound that we layered underneath the second time around when it comes. We muted it, like we had it in the first time as well, but we muted it to kind of just make it stand out a little bit more a second time it comes around. So this is what it sounds like. So this is the modular sound by itself. Just adds more to it. So okay. Then this one here, this one down here. This is from the modular as well. It's sort of like a metallic ARP. So that's what that does. And when we play it back.
In our fractured lives we seek deliverance.
Okay, so that's what that is. Then down here, obviously there's some guitar parts in there. Down here, so Stefan sings, screams into the night, so.
And you scream into the night.
So he created this sort of scream sound.
Turn on the lights, warm and bright. Feel.
So, I can solo this too. It's kind of a cool sound. When he sings, yeah. You scream into the night, and it's kind of like a scream. Okay. And then, really, one more thing to talk about is over here, this transition that goes from, well, from the bridge to this instrumental portion. So. This part. So what we did there is we really, we basically exported like a few measures from this point on, you know, like 1 or 2 measures or something like that. Then I reversed it, like we basically right here. We exported the entire track without the vocals, obviously, and reversed it and put, you know, like another modulation effect on there, and anyway, so here have like a fade and so on. Anyway, so what that does is it adds like a really nice texture to it. So if I solo this, okay, so that's basically, you know, it just leads to the next section, and it's the entire track exported, reversed, putting some effects on there and so on. Okay, and then 2 more things. One thing here is the aught delay. It sounds like this. Come on. Has kind of a buzz on it. But basically what that is it's aught delay. And the way we did this is we went and we used the audio damage ricochet. And what this is, so you have, this is the grid, this is the time, the grid, and then you can, time-based grid, sorry. And then you can adjust these feedback taps, or these delay taps, not feedback taps. These delay taps, and you can actually adjust the like when they are going to happen and how loud they are and stuff. So you can create some really cool non-traditional delays, you know, and then that's why we call it auto delay, because we wanted it to not be like a quarter note or something like that. So we just set the taps independently. Okay, and then like I said, the song it sounds like, and then all together. So that's that, and then the last thing is this sub kick, and I love this plugin. This thing is called Sub Destroyer, and basically you can set a start frequency and end frequency, and then the length, and then you can automate the fire, and it's basically like a drop kick. And so the way that works is because you see there's no audio or no MIDI event or anything like that on the actual track. So I use this with automation. So I can actually go and so here's the trigger fire. So it's automated. So there's one right here. Let me solo this. So that one's fairly short, and then this one's longer. And the reason is because all of these things are actually automated. So you can see that. So this is the trigger. Then this is the start frequency is different than it was the first time around. The end frequency is different than it was the first time around, and then the time, the length of it is different as well. So that's why they sound differently, and all of that is automated. You can hear it right here, and then okay. So, and you have to have some pretty decent speakers in order to hear this. So if you're watching this like on an iPad or something like that, you're hearing absolutely nothing. Anyway, so that's basically it. And I can go into another song at some point. You know, hopefully this is useful, somewhat useful, and if you like it, let me know, obviously, and if you don't like it, also let me know, and then I'm just gonna stop doing it. But just wanting to go over a few details and show how we've done things, and maybe you know, spark some ideas for other guys that make music. So that's the goal, other guys and girls, I should say, that make music, because that's what it's all about. Anyway, hope you like it, and talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.